Ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's so wonderful to be here tonight to be able to share my State of the Nation address. State of the Nation address is usually given by sitting presidents, and so it's a bit premature for me to actually give what you would call a national state of address, addressing issues from the vantage point of being president. And coming from Kenya, tonight we are going to be focusing on what is happening to Kenya, where we are, and where we need to go. I would like to do three main things. First of all, demystify who Reuben Kigame is, because a lot of people think I come from Rwanda, and then there are those of you that think I'm an alien from Tanzania, invisible candidate, and all of that. This is me. What you see is what you get. I'm a Kenyan, born in Vihiga, and grew up in Nyanza and central Kenya, and now make my home in Uasin Gishu County, specifically the town of Eldoret. And for those who have absolutely no idea who I am, I wear many hats. I know a lot of you are acquainted with the music aspect, and so you know the Enda Nasi and Bwana ni Mchungaji and Fadhili Zake ni za Milele, those of you that know Sweet Bunyore, and all of these wonderful songs that you find on the channel. However, Reuben Kigame is also a trained teacher. My first degree is actually out of Kenyatta University, a B.Ed in education, majoring in history, philosophy, and religious studies. And I've also had a chance to teach at Mary Hill High School in Thika, out of Kiambu there, and also Madira Secondary School in Vihiga. And now I teach part-time at the Africa International University in Nairobi. So I proudly wear the hat of a teacher. In case you're a teacher, you are a comrade in the profession. I also wear the hat of a broadcast journalist, having been present when S.K. Macharia and his team were setting up Radio Citizen. I had a chance to actually present a program called Sunset on there in the year 2000. And then I had a stint working for Family Media for about a year, and also part of the team that set up Hope Media, specifically Hope FM, in 2003, and worked with them for about a year. I was also there helping with the setup of Biblia Husema Broadcasting, BHB. And then for about 10 years, I set up and operated my own media house called Fish Media out of Uasin Gishu County, and we ran a station called Fish FM. And so I have been in the broadcast sector for a long time, and I'm acquainted with program presentation and all the technical work that goes with it. Excuse me. I would also want to say that I wear the hat of a social activist. I know many of you may not know, but right from my student days, I have been quite involved with constitutional discussions more recently, but the clamor for multi-party democracy and all of those. I have also been quite recently involved with the Linda Katiba movement, defending the 2010 Constitution from mutilation. And I was very delighted to see the courts, the High Court in particular, as well as the Court of Appeal, defend our Constitution and secure the sanctity and sovereignty of the citizens of Kenya. In 2013, I actually ran for Vihiga County gubernatorial seat, and successfully lost. Came fourth out of 6. And I usually say it's the citizens actually that lost the most, because they missed somebody who is dedicated to servant leadership and leadership based on integrity. So I proudly wear that kind of hat. Now, for those of you that are wondering, why is Reuben Kigame involving himself with vying for presidency 2022? First of all, I would like to say that we are in a very bad place as a country. And there are many of you that don't feel as strongly as I do about the need to turn around and do things right. I can be open with you and confess that perhaps among the tired Kenyans, I am the most tired. And I'm totally dissatisfied with how we have run our country, not just for the last 9 or 10 years, but for the entire season of 58 years. I can't believe, and it's hard for me to fathom, that 58 years after independence, we are still one of the most hungry nations on earth. I don't get it that 58 years after independence, we are still struggling with undeveloped parts of this country and marginalized sections that have never seen a single tarmac road, water, electricity, and health services. I don't get it. 58 years is not a short time. It is a long time. And I also don't get it that I'm part of a nation that accepts leadership that is based on corruption and impunity, where people just do things and expect nobody to bring them to book. I am totally dissatisfied with being part of a Kenya where you take the very basic things from citizens, including their health, that even when you have money to spend on health, you take it and privatize it and use it for your own needs. I am dissatisfied. I'm so dissatisfied with what our society has become with regard to values. And if there is one thing that I stand for and is the main push for me to get into leadership, it would be the need to restore leadership and governance that is based on integrity, accountability, and meritocracy. I am so eager to see a country that is led that way. So in a nutshell, I would like to provide a fresh start, an alternative to how we have done things before. I would like to introduce value-based politics in Kenya, because they are not being done. But most of all, I would like to unite this country away from the politics of ethnicity, especially negative ethnicity, where even elections and campaign times are driven around which community can unite with which community. So I would like to bring a fresh start, a new way of leading, a new way of serving people, indeed introduce servant leadership. Now, what is it that I bring to the table that I am convinced my competitors are unwilling to bring to the table or won't bring to the country given a chance to lead? The first thing that a Ruben Kigame presidency brings on the table is that servant leadership based on integrity, patriotism, human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and the protection of the marginalized. These are values that are carried in our Constitution in Article 10. And if you look at the Bill of Rights, they are envisaged there too. I would like to bring to the table a real Kenyan nation that is proud to exist as a defender of the fundamental rights of the individual. But secondly, I would like to bring to the table a presidency that manages the wanton corruption and impunity. Like I have said, we've come to a point in our country where we have accepted that corruption can never go away. I would like to give a chance to citizens to see for the first time what it means for a president to lead by example in slaying the dragon of corruption and impunity. When I look at what is going on in our country today, and I look at how we approach justice, and I look how some people live as if they are above the law, I crave and I desire to see a totally different country. Thirdly, a Reuben Kigame presidency wants to fight the whole problem of food insecurity. You know, we lose a lot of food because of distribution problems. It's not as if we don't have enough food in this country. We do, but we lose it because the food that is available doesn't get to the people that need it. Some of it rots, some of it is indeed taken advantage of. You grow your maize or your beans, and then you realize that somebody is importing food from outside. So cartels come in. Dead industries, some of which are killed makusudi, just I want to kill this industry so that I can import. So we need to secure food, in this country and ensure that everybody has access to food. Fourthly, a Ruben Kigame presidency commits to avail universal quality healthcare for every citizen, regardless of who they are, regardless of economic status. I would like to see a place where public health is given priority, where prevention is given priority. I would like to see a place, a situation where every village has at least a health center and or a dispensary that is functional, complete with personnel. I would like to see the hiring of more health workers. We have a lot of them that are unemployed, and I don't get it. I don't understand why. Our doctors need to be paid well, etc. I want to see quality health care in this country. Fifth, I would like to see the management of our public debt. We have become real desperate borrowers. And public debt has gone through the window. We are talking about Kenya owing close to 7.6 trillion shillings. That is not your shopkeeper's change of every day. This is monies that our children and children's children will pay before we go free. And we've been driven this far because of the greed of a few who want to borrow and invest in irrelevant projects that are not priority, projects that would benefit them more than the ordinary citizen. So I would like to see the management of our public debt through what I'm calling Stop Economic Bleeding. Stop economic bleeding. If something cuts you like this, you want as quickly as possible to bring in what they call elastoplast, some bandaging to stop the bleeding. But we seem to be so comfortable with losing 2 billion shillings per day. Our own president confessed that in January. 2 billion shillings per day gives you the idea of losing about 720 billion per year. I would say this is, the least. We are losing all of that. So if we stop economic bleeding and we stop local borrowing, because the government is borrowing locally until Mwananchi has nowhere to borrow from, the commercial banks and so on are servicing the government more than Mwananchi. I would like to see a turnaround on that. I would like to see negotiation on the repayment periods for our debts. And, persuade whatever can be cancelled to be cancelled. And then, as your president, I would like to see a reprioritization of projects. A lot of projects are just, white elephants. They're just projects to guzzle and take money from our national coffers. So I would like to see a reprioritization of that so that we can have enough. And then ensure that the taxes we pay are accounted for. Set up a system of accountability that will take care of every little shilling that comes from our taxes. You see, if you could convince citizens that their taxes are being put to proper use, then you can be sure citizens will be happy to pay tax. But if you are trigger happy to make citizens pay taxes, and then you can't account for them, you are not just a horrible capitalist, you are an evil person, because you use people to enrich yourself as you let them suffer on and on. Something has to be done to turn this around. Now, sixth, I would like as much as possible to ensure that we have a government of national unity. Right from how I do my appointments, you will be so happy to know that right from the appointment of my deputy, all the way to the CSs and key positions in government, I am probably the only one that can assure you and demonstrate both now by way of how I work, including my own campaign team, that I am very inclusive. And I would like my government to be just that. And it's not just about having people from different parts of the country. We need to include women in this coming government. Women must have a prominent place on the basis of merit and not just affirmative action. We will appoint them because there are many who are qualified to run the different affairs of this country. Indeed, time is ripe for Kenya to even have a woman president. And so we need to go to the drawing board and recognize that inclusion is not just talk. Inclusion is not just mere talk. I would like to see a government of national unity that is inclusive, including persons living with disability, to find space in administration and decision-making and everything that pertains to the running of this country. Lastly, and most significantly, with 70% of our population being youth, it would be a terrible mistake to have any president that does not prioritize the lives and affairs of the youth. Indeed, I want to go public. I want to be on record as saying that right from the composition of my government, I hope the young people will be delighted enough to see that I will mostly have people running this government that are at least 50% youth. 50% younger than me, certainly. I'm 55 now. You can be sure the faces that form the next government will comprise people between 30 and 50. And I can tell you for sure that it's not just about inclusiveness at that level. It is about sitting with the youth to determine policy. It's about giving youth a chance to tell you what works for them. It's not about sitting in Nairobi at a boardroom and deciding this is what we allocate to the youth. We have to have a youth-driven decision-making process as well. And there are three main areas of youth support and intervention that I would like to commit as your next president. First of all, and take it to the bank if you can, I would like to ensure that every young person that is school or college-going age manages to have a free, quality education. I was talking to my shadow minister for economic planning and finance and so on. There will be a few other dockets brought in there. We're keeping this under our sleeves. And he told me that in 10 to 12 days or so of tax collection, we can fund the entire education budget for the whole year. And if that is doable, then we should be able to take away the burden of paying school fees from parents and put it on government. A government should be able to educate its youth. And guess what? If we take away that pressure, that weight from the parents, they will have enough money to invest and even pay taxes. We will free them from the burden of having to sell land and houses and property and going into loans in order to educate their children. I commit to a quality, free education, and mark my words, right from kindergarten all the way to university. I believe that it is possible, not just with government investment, but also with the support of partners that are ready to fund education. Now, I know some of you may be asking about CBC and so on. I will make a statement on that in the coming days. But I believe that CBC needs to be participatory. We need to hear the teachers, we need to hear the parents, and we even need to hear the students. Now, I would also want to secondly concentrate in terms of youth empowerment on ensuring that youth have county centers, incubation centers, county centers to develop talents and other abilities. So whether you're talking soccer, or you're talking music, or you're talking film, or you're talking arts or poetry or whatever it is in terms of youth endowment, we want to make sure that the youth have access to these in every county. I would also want to mention something that is very rarely talked about by other presidential candidates, and from today you might even hear them pick this up and talk about it. But the issue of counseling services for our youth. So many on drugs, so many put down by alcohol, so many that are deceived and completely destroyed by gambling and all these traits that are put on them by adults. We need to have counseling centers and rehab centers in every county that is in partnership between the national government and county governments to ensure that our youth have access to the management of mental health issues as well as life-threatening habits. I believe that if we took off our youth from alcohol and drugs, we will be able to have more productive youth and thereby have a more productive nation. And lastly, I would like to believe that given a chance, we, having removed government from squandering, local borrowed monies, we should be able to avail a lot of seed capital for youth that have left college in particular and would like to start certain small projects, whether it's just a business or you want to go into incubating and strengthening your talent. We want to avail capital and then give you low interests as well as long periods of time to repay that money. In my estimation, if we gave 6 to 7 years, my team will be working on that in terms of repayment. The youth can sort themselves out. And so I would like to believe that given a chance, there is a place I can take this nation and make the average Kenyan citizen smile again. My complete, big vision is to have a breath of fresh air in this country again, where people like street children are no more on the streets. It's actually irresponsible for any society to have a group of citizens called street children or street families. These have homes. And where there are no homes, we should create homes for them. But they also need to enjoy life the same way everybody is enjoying life today. And so, with those many remarks, allow me to sit down and wait for the question and answer time. And I believe that I'll be able to address the in-betweens that I was unable to address. But I would want to end by saying, come August 9, 2022, please give a chance to a fresh, person, someone that is out of government. The only experience I actually don't have is the experience of mismanaging your country. The only experience I don't have is theft. The only experience I don't have is impunity and corruption. So if those are bad experiences to have, then I don't know what you want. I have only one experience in life: to lead by example and not to tell people, do as I tell you and not as I do. I want to be the first president, the first singing president like David, who tells you, follow me as I follow the laws of God. God bless Kenya and God bless Africa.
Wow, that has been amazing. And thank you so much, Honorable Reuben Kigame, for that articulate and candid State of the Nation address that you've given. You've captured almost everything that is affecting young people. You've talked about the economic model that you intend to use to uplift the livelihoods of the young people. And also at the same time, you have come on board as an alternative to the corrupt, and the mismanaging governments that we have had in the past and that we still have right now. And I feel like so many young people are energized, and from the State of the Nation that you've given, it has captured so many issues that is affecting the lives of young people. And before I start going online, you've weighed in on the issue of CBC, and you've given an address that you'll be tackling it entirely, holistically in a few days. But it is one of the emerging issues, is among one of the emerging issues that is affecting so many parents right now. And I would also want you to weigh in on the issue of NHIF, and they have made that they intend to make NHIF. They intend to make the NHIF, a compulsory issue to the families. And I'm like, if these families cannot afford to put a meal on their table, how can they be in a position to cater for the NHIF health policy? So I would really want you to weigh in on that. What is your mind about it?
Thank you very much. In other countries, you have what we call social security. And so we would like to have a new way of looking at the provision of insurance for the nation. Allow me to just say this. Under my leadership, there should be a fee or an amount of money set aside, especially for the poor families. Mm-hmm. That is what they call out there social security, that you have an amount of money that you can leverage on should you fall sick, mm-hmm. should you need basic health care. And so beyond the NHIF issue, I would like to be able to discuss with my team the possibility of ensuring there is an amount under social security.
Awesome. And that is a real issue, and thank you so much for your response. And there is now the dragon of corruption and impunity, and it's so rampant in our country. I don't know, the government have laid bodies and structures that are supposed to take care of it, but still they're just going in on circles and they're not really tackling the real issue. And they're saying that the dragon is too big, that there is no one that can slay it. So what strategy are you going to use that you can slay this dragon of impunity and rampant corruption in our country?
First of all, if you yourself are affected by corruption and impunity, if the way you live is full of scandals, full of people crying about what you've done to them or stolen from them, then I can tell you for free, there is no way you can handle the problem of corruption. And that's why I'm not an angel. I'm not a saint. I'm just a simple Christian Kenyan citizen that believes that beyond government, there is a higher government, and that is the government of God, that we are accountable to. Yes. And when all in this life is said and done, we will face somebody who will ask me and ask you the question, how did you live? How did you treat others? And so I go by a principle that Jesus left me as a Christian, and that is one, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then secondly, love your neighbor as yourself. And it doesn't matter who it is. So that drives my ethics. It drives my value system. And tell you what, the 10 commandments are very clear. The Muslims have them, the Christians have them. And it is so clear, it says, thou shalt not steal. So if you're going to steal, guess what? The place to be is in jail. And so I want to go on record as the first president that from day one, we'll be looking at the need for those who have been convicted or there is enough evidence that they have taken public resources or funds, then we will give them a chance to return. We will give them a chance to restitute. Beyond there, my friend, it is jail all the way. And I hope that I become the first president to show that there is nobody who is below or above the law. The law, it works for everybody, whether you have 1 million shillings or whether you only have 100 shillings as your resource. I hope that I can show by example it can be done. And it will begin with the president's office.
Wow. And I mean, I can see the passion and the vigor, I mean, and the hope that you have towards that. But the judiciary, you know, in Kenya, we have the 3 arms of government. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, and the legislature. And the judiciary is kind of compromised. I mean, the judiciary is kind of compromised until the other day we saw a judge was, being part of a corrupt deal and, I mean, assassinating someone. I mean, what are you going to do to straighten that arm of government?
So that particular case is under, they're working on that case, so I will not comment on it.
Okay.
However, I want to be the friend of the judiciary. You know, if you look at the way the current government has treated the judiciary, it's very embarrassing. First of all, by defunding the judiciary. How do you defund the judiciary? By giving them little money, meaning that you cannot really execute certain cases. That is a problem. But also, outright refusal to hire judges. You remember that saga? And so I want all this reversed, whereby we give credit where it's due, and of course, punishment where it is due. I will be the friend of the judiciary, and certainly we have a very competent, Chief Justice. I believe that we can work very well together. But I also want to be a friend of Parliament, not in the sense our current government is. I want to work with Parliament in such a way that legislation is not dragged, that we pass laws that serve Mwananchi. You know what the current Parliament is doing, Michael? It's jumping the gun. It's actually playing games with citizens, where, for example,